Harvard researchers found that people's minds wander 37% of their waking hours.
Wow, almost half our lives.
Right. But here's the real kicker. Mind wandering was the strongest predictor of unhappiness.
Oh, that's fascinating.
Yeah, it wasn't about what people were actually doing. It was entirely about whether they were present while doing it.
That makes so much sense, honestly.
It really does. So if you feel like you are sleepwalking through your life, if everything feels, flat, empty, or like you're just going through the motions, this skill we're talking about today was designed specifically for that.
Exactly.
By the end of this deep dive, you understand why being fully present is literally the antidote to that chronic emptiness.
And just a brief disclaimer before we get into the heavy stuff. What we share here at DBT Me is educational.
Right.
These are real skills you can start using today, but, we're not therapists, and this isn't therapy.
Right. But these skills do come from one of the most rigorously researched therapy frameworks ever developed.
Yes, created by Dr. Marsha Linehan.
Exactly. And I just want to start by validating something for you listening right now. I want to acknowledge how exhausting it is to feel disconnected from your own life.
Oh, absolutely. It's draining.
It is. And chronic emptiness isn't laziness. Dissociation isn't weakness. These are just things that happen when your brain basically learns to check out to protect itself.
Yeah, it's a survival mechanism.
Yeah.
But the core module of Dialectical Behavior Therapy, or DBT, specifically the mindfulness module, is about learning how to check back in.
So let's talk about the exact mechanism for that. Today we were focusing on Participate, which is the third what skill in DBT.
Right, so to put it simply, observe equals notice, describe equals name it, and participate equals fully engage.
Fully engage, like throwing yourself entirely into the present moment without any of that heavy self-consciousness.
Exactly. You are basically becoming one with the activity.
But I need to understand the biology here.
Yeah.
Because if someone just tells me to be present, my eyes just glaze over.
Sure.
But the clinical data here is wild. Like doing this actually physically alters your brain. Right?
Oh, absolutely. There's this landmark study from the Harvard Gazette. It shows that just 8 weeks of targeted mindfulness practice literally expands the thinking, rational centers of your brain.
Which is the prefrontal cortex, right?
Yes. And at the exact same time, it physically shrinks the size of your amygdala, which is your brain's fear and threat detection center.
That is just incredible to me. You are rewiring the actual hardware.
You really are. And when we look at the participate skill specifically, it's doing something very cool to a neural network called the default mode network, or the DMN.
Okay, unpack the DMN for me. What is that?
So the DMN is essentially your brain's wandering system. It's the baseline resting state that kicks on when you aren't focused on a task.
Kind of like a car's idling engine?
That's a perfect analogy, yeah. An idling engine. It's responsible for daydreaming, ruminating on the past, worrying about the future.
And I'm guessing an overactive idling engine is a bad thing.
Very bad. Hyperactivity in the DMN is strongly linked to depression, anxiety, and that hollow feeling of chronic emptiness.
So how does throwing myself into an activity, how does participating actually fix that?
Well, when you fully participate in something, you enter a state of flow. And in flow, that wandering DMN quiets down and your task-positive network activates.
Wow. So you're literally forcing the brain to switch tracks.
Exactly. That's why people feel the most alive during flow states. Participate basically trains your brain to enter flow on demand.
Okay, I love this. And hey, really quick, if this deep dive is waking something up in you, if you're realizing how much of your life you've been missing, hit like and subscribe to DBT May. We go deep on DBT skills that can actually change your life.
Yeah, we really dive into the mechanics of it all.
We do. So going back to the symptoms this addresses, we mentioned emptiness, but this also targets automatic reactivity, right?
Yes, reacting before you even have a chance to think.
Right, and dissociation, where you just feel completely detached from your body.
And boredom, too. That feeling that life is just meaningless. All 4 of those things are symptoms of being stuck outside the present moment.
So let's ground this with some relatable examples. What does failing to participate look like in everyday life?
Well, I mean, think about eating your lunch while mindlessly scrolling on your phone versus actually tasting your food.
Oh man, guilty.
Right. Or having a conversation where you're just composing your response in your head instead of truly listening to the other person.
That's a huge one. Or like walking through a beautiful park, but you're just replaying an argument you had yesterday. You don't even feel the sun on your face.
Exactly. You're physically there, but mentally you are time traveling.
But here's where I always get tripped up with this skill. Let's say I'm doing something I absolutely hate, like washing a massive tile of really gross dishes.
Yeah.
Do I really have to, like, fully participate in that? Does participate mean I have to pretend I'm enjoying it?
I'm so glad you brought that up because that is the most common mistake people make with this skill. Yes. People think participate means you have to enjoy everything. It's not toxic positivity. You can fully participate in something deeply unpleasant.
Okay, but why would I want to?
Because it's a biological strategy to stop your mind from wandering. If you're washing the dishes and you just notice the heat of the water, the smell of the soap, the weight of the plates.
You're entering that flow state.
Exactly. You're turning on the task-positive network. By doing that, you eliminate the secondary suffering of your brain drifting off to worry about tomorrow's deadline.
Wow, okay, so it's not about loving the chore. It's about not letting the chore become a backdrop for an anxiety spiral.
Precisely. And people also confuse participation with distraction.
Oh, like turning on a podcast while doing the dishes.
Right. Distraction is running away from the moment. Participation is diving headfirst into it. You don't need special circumstances to do it. You can participate while folding laundry.
Okay, so let's connect this to the other mindfulness skills so we have the full picture. Observe, describe, and participate are the what skills?
Right. The actions you take.
I saw a great analogy for this. Observe is the camera just taking in the raw visual. Describe is writing the dry, factual caption.
Yes. Objective labeling.
And the participate is literally stepping into the frame and being in the movie. Together, they form the complete what of mindfulness.
That is a brilliant way to conceptualize it.
But wait, I could technically observe, describe, and participate in an argument and still be completely toxic, right?
You could, which is exactly why Dr. Linehan created the how skills. They act as the guardrails.
Okay, give me a quick rundown of the how skill.
So you have to do the what skills non-judgmentally, one mindfully, and effectively.
Non-judgmentally is tough. That means stripping away moral labels like good or bad.
Right. It's evaluating things as just facts. If you're angry, you don't judge yourself and say, I'm a bad person for being mad. That just creates shame. You just accept the anger as a biological fact.
And one mindfully is basically doing one thing at a time. The death of multitasking.
Because multitasking is a myth. Your brain is just rapidly context switching, which spikes cortisol and stress.
And then effectiveness. Focusing on what actually works to achieve your goal.
Yes. Not obsessing over what's fair or who is right, but doing what moves you toward your actual goal.
Okay, I love the system. It's so mechanical. But I have to ask, what if my emotions are at a 10 out of 10?
That's a crucial question.
Because if I'm having a full-blown panic attack, my heart rate is through the roof. I can't just quietly observe my breath or step into the frame. My brain is on fire.
And DBT anticipates that exact crisis. When you are at a 10 out of 10, your prefrontal cortex is offline. You cannot logic your way out of it.
So what do you do?
You use the emergency brake. This is from the distress tolerance module, specifically the TIPP skills.
TIPP. Temperature, intense exercise, paced breathing, paired muscle relaxation. I completely geeked out over the temperature skill in our research.
Oh, it's basically a biological hack.
It really is. You literally get a bowl of ice water, hold your breath, and dunk your face in it for 30 seconds.
Right, which sounds extreme.
It sounds totally unhinged. But it triggers the mammalian dizing reflex. Tell them how this works because it's amazing.
So you have these temperature and pressure receptors around your eyes and nose. When they hit freezing water while you hold your breath, it tricks your brainstem into thinking you're diving into deep, cold water.
And to save oxygen, your brain instantly forces your heart rate to drop.
Completely automatically. It shuts down the fight-or-flight sympathetic nervous system and forces the rest and digest parasympathetic system to take over.
It drops your heart rate so fast, it's literally forcing the hardware to reboot so the prefrontal cortex can come back online.
Exactly. But you have to watch out for the psychological resistance to doing this.
Right, because when I'm that mad, part of me wants to stay mad. I don't want to regulate my nervous system.
That resistance is called willfulness in DBT. It's fighting reality, crossing your arms and saying, I shouldn't have to deal with this.
Just burning energy, being mad at the universe.
Right. And the shift you need to make is towards willingness, accepting what is, and doing what works. It's giving up the demand for cosmic fairness so you can actually solve the problem.
Yeah, and that is so powerful. Look, if you are listening to this and realizing that you have the power to actually rewire your own brain, please subscribe to DBT Me and share this with someone who feels numb or disconnected.
Definitely. Because if these skills are helping you in a simple podcast format, just imagine what a full DBT program with a trained therapist could do for you.
Absolutely. This stuff is life-changing.
And I want to leave you with one final thought to mull over today.
Go for it.
We know that just 8 weeks of intentional mindfulness can literally alter the physical structure of your brain. It expands your prefrontal cortex and shrinks your fear center.
Yeah.
So my question for you is, what other automatic habits, reactions, or limitations in your life are you currently accepting as permanent that are actually completely within your power to rewire?
That is such a profound question to walk away with. Just a reminder, DBT Me is here to educate and empower you, but we are not a substitute for professional mental health care.
Yes, absolutely.
If you are in crisis right now, please call or text 988. You can also find a certified DBT therapist at behavioraltech.org. You deserve support.
You really do.
We will see you in the next deep dive. Take care.